G'day, it's Dan here. I've spent an hour or two making graphics for the rule set. So we can see here, what I did was had a look at the Core RPG frames, and Utility Box 3 was fairly dark, so I've gone with this design. Utility Box 2 was very light. I've gone with this design. It's nothing too complicated. It's a very similar shape across all of them. You can see the 9 slices tile in here. Utility Box was sort of a general, sort of in-between one. So I've got this colour. You can see what I started with was just this matte one colour shape initially. I added some edges top and bottom to them, and that made a fair bit of difference. And you can see that in some of them as well, I've added just a subtle little edge on the left hand side. In this case it's just a lighter grey, so it depends on which one. So a tooltip box, that's what when you hover over. The story box, so this is just stories. See, this one's actually got a slight red edge along the side, and we've got our skills frame. Okay, we've already seen that one. Shortcuts. Okay, so this is on the far right of the screen. So you'll see my desktop a bit later. So I've got a hard black edge here, and then an almost black background, and then just the faintest hexes over the top, and this will just tile. But mostly it'll be hidden by the menus, so hopefully that repeating tile won't be too obvious. If it is, we can expand that, but it looks alright from my test so far. Scroll box, you can just see there's a slight whitish, it's actually off-white edge just on the side. Same basic shapes, this sort of edge here. Reference page, so these are used in reference manuals. So this is very similar to the story one. Reference list. These are the lists of items. So if you've got a list of items, a list of weapons, a list of spells, no spells in this game, but say a list of vehicles, a list of NPCs, a list of tables, they'll all be on this basic frame. Record sheet, that's that. So when you actually open up the item, so if you open up an item or a vehicle or a skill, they will use this frame. The party sheet, very similar, same designs. So this design, we'll go through and have a look at it in a bit more detail in GIMP shortly. Group box. So the important part with the group box is that there's 2 pixels of transparency on outside this. Then we've got a slightly darker, so it's semi-transparent, but it's a slightly darker edge, and then a lighter colour. But the whole thing is semi-transparent, so it'll lighten whatever's it's underneath. Field light is identical. Field dark is the opposite. So we have we've still got 2 pixels around the outside. We've got a white edge, and then we have a transparent red edge. The desktop was fun. We'll have a look at this one in a bigger screen. You can see, I'll show you how I built the desktop combat tracker. So it was primarily black. Now we may end up putting something a little bit lighter in part of this, because the Core RPG one, 5e one, looks a little bit similar. It's not all dark. The chat box, same edges, but we've just got broken up a little bit. It's not the same edges all along. This is where you type in your text. You can see here that my top slices, they don't start until this edge has finished, and on the bottom one, my 9 slices the bottom slices don't start until this edge is higher than this one. The cast sheet, we already seen that one before. I suspect I'm going to scrape a little bit of this, just maybe 5 or 8 pixels. I think that my saving throws, I don't think they're going to need both of these boxes, but that time will tell on that one. And of course in here we've got our sub windows where we're actually displaying more content, and we've got our tabs here, and we've got our portrait and token over here. car select, campaign list with tabs, calendar, button up and button down, very similar, just the button down is a transparent grey band instead of a solid one. And we've seen these other ones. So let's have a quick look at them in GIMP also. Alright, so this is our shortcut, our sidebar. So I took this hex and I've sized it down to the size I thought was appropriate, and then I've really made it transparent. So this is actually 25% of a 5% transparency. I've got my scaled layers down here. This is just 200 by 200 pixels, so its actual size is closer to that. And we can see just a hard black edge here, and then a slightly lighter edge or solid color here. Okay, this one is obviously far more involved. So I've got a picture out of the White Lies PDF, and we'll see if we can pull that one up. Here it is. Okay, I've blown this up a little bit. This is at 200% zoom, but so at 100% we can see that it's only that big, and oops, and I'm needing this to fill a, well, I need it to tile properly actually across quite a large screen where required. So what I did, this is my original image, and I've modified a couple of the buildings here just to take some of the really obvious repeating shapes out of them. Well, actually I've done that after I've copied them. So what I did, I selected the black color, I've pasted it separately, I've flipped that paste, I've merged it back in over the top here, and then I've actually measured where I want this to repeat, because this won't, I need, so basically this half of the image to the left doesn't repeat. This is a one-time image. You don't want to have a setting moon repeating multiple times, or a rising sun, whatever that is, setting sun. You don't want that repeating multiple times, only one sun or moon in the sky. So the repeating side starts from here, and somewhere in the middle here it flips so that this edge and this edge will meet, and this will tile infinitely that way. Now as well, this bottom edge here will always be visible, and the top edge is 0, and so the rest of it is going to be just red in the middle. So this is my middle section, and this is my bottom section, and this is my bottom left section. So really there's only 3 sort of core parts to this. Was actually, so there's in effect there's 4. So we've got bottom, left, and bottom, and we've got left, and we've got middle, and that will tile across any size screen. So you can see like this building here was possibly this one, and I've altered the shape of the building. I've taken some, this was a very obvious shape, so I didn't want this one repeating. We've got this particular shape here, we've modified it here so it's not as obvious when it repeats there. We've edited some of these buildings a little bit just so that the repetition as they scale across isn't as obvious. It will be there, and you'll be able to see it if you look for it. But we'll see what that looks like on the table shortly. On these ones, you see, I make multiple layers here and build these up. But they're all very similar shapes. Sometimes made a couple of different variants before I settle on the right one. I'll just show you the actual shapes when I find the right example. Probably this desktop one, this chat box. We'll zoom in on this one a little bit. And what we can see is most of my corners are a 10 pixel diagonal, so filling a 10 pixel square. But what I found was on a second step that 5 pixels was actually enough here, and it also meant that this, if I did a 10 pixel here and a 10 pixel at the bottom, I was actually starting to encroach on the content a little bit. So 10 pixels across the top, they don't affect the content in the bottom here, but just these 5 pixel steps in on the edges, and we're just still going for that sort of tab dossier look that the White Lies ruleset uses, and also RPG uses, and also it's very common for all the spy genre games. They sort of use a tab, an office tab sort of style about them. We saw this particular one where I made this for skills, and we're going to do one for weapons. Basically, got that 10 pixel edge, 9 degrees, and then just a little subtle thing here that the text is the same color as this frame, and it just bleeds in like this. The W, the E, they actually, the bottom of them blends straight into this, and it's the same on the skills text and any other ones that I've done. So same on the character sheet. So working through those like that. Let's have a quick look at what it looks like on the table. So I've just got a few windows open here. You can see the character sheet, which we've seen a fair bit of. There's that detail where the text bleeds into the frame. This is possibly going to be redone because this one's actually got curved edges rather than hard diagonal ones. But we'll see what happens there. We've got, this is utility box 2, this utility box 3, which has been reused on the combat tracker, character selection window. This is, where's the utility box 2? Just utility box. Sorry, utility box looks a lot like this one, which is also our campaign list with tabs. We can see here the actual reference list. And let's see if we've got a story entry here somewhere. I don't have any stories with content in them, but you can see that this is just a off-white. This is possibly going to get an edge on it. It has got a red line top and bottom, 4 pixels top, 2 at the bottom. Might get a 1 pixel edge here in a darker grey or a medium grey, something like that, just to make sure it doesn't blend too much into the other frames. And if we quickly just shuttle these down so we can see our desktop and we can see its scale. Haven't actually tested it at too high resolution. Let's do this at this is at 1080. Let's do it at double that resolution. So scale UI 50, and you can see that has tiled perfectly all the way along, and a single sun or moon, whatever that is, and the rest of these images, you can't see where it tiles. It's clean. When you're looking for it, you can see the repetition of this building here repeating a couple of times, and my sidebar, my hexes, you can see them repeat a little bit more on such a large screen. But this is what it looks like in normal view, which is most people's screens will see. So yeah, that's a bit of a look at how I built the graphics up for this. Red, white, black straight out of the manual, and I've done that with various shades of grey to build this system up. Alright, have fun. See you again soon.